Hey guys, it's Gogbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 132nd episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So if you went up to some of the top MCs from 80s and 90s hip-hop, guys like Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, KRS-One, Nas, Jay-Z, or Black Thought, and ask them who they would put on their personal Mount Rushmore of lyricists, I guarantee that the vast majority, if not all of them, would have Kool G Rap somewhere on there. In fact, he's one of the few old school rappers who was so influential and lyrically advanced that you can find multiple clips of the legends I named, as well as plenty of other pioneers giving G Rap his flowers as one of the best to ever do it. While I haven't really discussed him on the channel in depth before, he's another in that line of rappers who've been keeping their pen sharp for over 40 years at this point, like Kool Keith or Masta Ace, G-Rap's fellow Juice Crew member. I think the only time I really mentioned this GOAT so far was in my Fun Crusher Plus video, where I mentioned how Koflo had used a sample off of G-Rap and DJ Polo's second album here. There's a great interview I'll link down below where LP discusses the gut-wrenching Last Good Sleep with fellow veteran Talib Kweli, and they also talk about Streets of New York, which is the track that LP sampled off of this album. And he repurposed a few lines from this track that I mentioned in the review for that album, so I'll leave that down in the description below. But they have a great conversation on how powerful and ahead of its time this song was, and how it shined a disturbingly realistic light on the side of the city that many weren't showing. Of course, you had Public Enemy and even Grandmaster Flash with the message before that, but the genius of Streets of New York is they don't pad the experience with an uplifting, positive message at the end, and it isn't even really being channeled through some message of political rebellion or racial unity like many of his contemporaries. This track is nothing but Polo's stellar instrumental that lays the groundwork for the verses, and Kool G Rap verbally leading you through this dark alley to show you the harsh, bleak circumstances coming from a mix of factors, least of all crack and poverty. He doesn't hold your hand, and they bravely start the album off with this statement piece, making a divide between people who hear the references to drugs, crime, and sex and dismiss it immediately, and people who relate to these awful situations, or at least have enough empathy to put themselves in the shoes of someone who does. While Last Good Sleep creates a mantra out of the "At night I cover my ears with tears, the man downstairs must have drank too many beers, now every night of his life he beats his wife," that's honestly nowhere near the only depraved or soul-crushing scenario that's painted in this song. To give you a little example of the depressing reality we're given a tour of here, the very first lines bring you right in with, "In the streets of New York, dope fiends are leaning for morphine, the TV screens follow the homicide scenes. You live here, you're taking a chance. So look, and I take one glance, there's a man inside an ambulance." I also have to mention that I just adore the little piano section that occasionally comes in as a sort of second movement to the beat, and it gives even more emotion to the G-Rap lines it first comes in for, with "I'll explain, the man sleeping in the rain, his whole life remains inside a bottle of night train." However, while it's moments like that one and the iconic Juice Crew posse cut Erase Racism that really display Kool G Rap's more socially aware side, what really puts him in my and so many other people's top 10 or even top 5 MCs of all time is his absolutely ridiculous flow and rhyme schemes. He had already proven himself a top name through another classic Juice Crew group track, The Symphony, which is arguably the single most revered cypher song of all time, and the updates he would do for that track over the years showed he just got more and more technical with age. However, when you look around at the general hip-hop climate in 1990, you'll be really hard-pressed to find anyone who's pushing the boundaries of what's possible with just a pen and paper further than Kool G Rap was consistently all across Wanted, Dead or Alive. Combined with his trademark lisp and deeper register, I find myself constantly making a stank face every time I throw this timeless LP on from how unrelenting the lyrical slaughter is. To display what I'm talking about, I wanted to share one more favorite little section of mine, which occurs when he gives us the lines, "You're scared straight as soon as G-Rap penetrates. You want to escape, but you got a date to meet fate." Run for your life when I'm starting. Suckers are getting turned to missing motherfuckers on a milk carton. Danger when I rearrange ya and change a face. Ace, you're being replaced by a stranger. I injure and escape like a ninja. You got struck by a fucking revenger. A bullet inserted in your head. A shot got murdered. Nobody seen shit. Nobody heard it. Though obviously Kool Rap is kind of the star of the show here, I have to give props to his partner in crime, DJ Polo, who knocked the instrumentals out of the park on here, just like he had for virtually all the projects these two have done together. From Road to the Riches to Live and Let Die to even Rated Triple X. But at this point, G-Rap has such a meaty discography that there's no telling how many producers he's linked up with over the years, even though he could have never put anything out after the year 2000, and would still have classics like 456 and Roots of Evil, on top of all the other legendary projects I already named. Just the way this dude would put together and deliver a verse had a clear, recognizable impact on many that came after him. I mean, there's even a famous story of the late legend Big Pun literally kneeling to kiss the ring of Kool Rap when he first met him. And with how much of a monster lyricist this dude was, you should know that's pretty high praise. But I can definitely hear some influence in his style all across the board with guys like Capadonna, Nonfiction, Sean Price, and really a lot of members of Boot Camp Click. And that's still just the tip of the iceberg. While I referenced the group cut featuring Big Daddy Kane and Biz Markie that was dedicated to ending racism, I negated to mention that there's actually one other track with two more killer guest appearances on it, those being the legend Freddie Fox aka Bumpy Knuckles as well as Large Professor, whose dope guest verse here actually preceded the main Source debut album by a good year. For this one, I think I'd have to make my honorable mentions the title track, Erase Racism, Bad to the Bone, Talk Like Sex, Kool is Back, Jive Talk, and Rikers Island. As you could guess, one of my three favorite songs overall here is definitely Streets of New York, but for the other two, I'd have to go with Money in the Bank and Death Wish. Thank you for watching my 132nd video. Next time we're going to bring back a group I already talked about once before, but I actually prefer this next one to the one I already discussed. So tune in for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs off this forward-thinking sophomore LP are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.